Today, I want to talk about an important question to investors, which is veganism a trend or a paradigm? And this really matters because if it's a trend, you would invest one way, and if it's a paradigm, that gives you a whole different long term perspective on vegan investing. So let's quickly define the terms. I think trend is pretty obvious. Like when I was a kid, bell bottoms were in style. Then they went out of style. They came back in style. So that's just a trend or a fad. It has no real meaning, long lasting. And there are a lot of people that want to call veganism a trend or a fad. And that's a way of really uh, diminishing what we're talking about as vegans. So, what's a paradigm? A paradigm is a functional belief. Like, enough people see that by holding that belief, there's some utility in that. Like, for example, it's a paradigm. The idea that the sun comes up every morning, it's a functional belief. It has a lot of utility because if every night we go to bed wondering if the sun's going to come up or not, uh, the, it's like there's more utility in life to the belief that it will. And so we believe that. Or something like physics. Newtonian physics was a paradigm, and then that paradigm is still largely true, but quantum physics really, for people who understand it, which I'm not saying I do, but I understand enough to know that um, that changed the whole paradigm of that. Changed the way people talk about physics. Those who really are engaged at uh, deeply in that subject, and we also can imagine that that paradigm will also eventually get replaced by something else. But the functionality has a longevity to it. Why would quantum physics maybe be replaced? Because maybe we don't really have an answer. Like if we want to really do intergalactic space travel, right now we're kind of stuck, at least in our solar system, as humans. So uh, now paradigms are not instantly understood or accepted. And as I had been considering this, I looked at everyone likes to talk. Well, people used to think that the Earth was the center of the universe, and then that paradigm shifted. Now we see the sun as the center of our solar system, and with galaxies circling around the center of the galaxy, and all this other stuff. But in that era of this transition, it wasn't like suddenly people said, "Oh yeah, that's great. Let's just do that." So uh, when I looked into this a little deeper, it took about 150 years for the majority of people for whom this mattered to settle on the notion that the Earth goes around the moon. And so the Copernican cosmology, it has a lot of impact, especially on things like space travel, satellites. For most of us, it doesn't really necessarily make a difference. But air travel, all these things, uh, sea travel would not work as well under the older paradigm. But there was this guy uh, who he had his own. Oh, I'm spacing out on his name now, just as I was about to say it. Um, he created a whole set of mathematics. Tycho Brahe. He created a whole set of mathematics designed around continually trying to prove that the Earth was the center of the universe. So those two sets of mathematics competed with each other for about 150 years until finally the utility of the Tycho algebra, mathematics just fell away. It was no longer useful. So this is why I think veganism is a paradigm, because there's a lot of things that you can actually predict with it. You can predict things as important as, if you read a book like the China study, you can see that minimizing or eliminating the consumption of animals has a huge relative impact to chronic illnesses, mental illnesses, and things like that. So that's a highly functional set of data. It would suggest that there's something more to the idea of looking at the world from the point of view that animals deserve their own rights and that those rights should be protected, and that belief has a lot of utility for humanity in our personal health, in the way the environment works. I was just listening to a video just this morning that was saying that phytoplankton in the ocean is at all-time low levels, and that's such a huge part of climate regulation. And why? Because we've been basically strip mining the ocean of its living beings, and those living beings and their excrement provide the food and nutrients for the, for the all of these microorganisms that control our climate. So we can see how functional veganism would be toward restoring the health of our entire biosphere, including climate change. There's other measurable things like the carbon impact of GMO and pesticide-driven agriculture, which occupies the majority of arable agricultural space used today. And the output of that is primarily to feed cows and pigs and chickens. And it's just, there's a lot of mathematical things that can be quickly calculated. So there are a lot of people that talk about human performance. For me personally, I experienced, once I went vegan, increased mental clarity, increased peace of mind. I healed a number of bodily issues that had been challenges almost my whole life, like digestive issues and things like that. And so many people report these results and long term, and you'll find that people who've been vegan longer tend to be have had the most results and the most just high quality of life, or high quality of their experience of life, which is really what we all want in the end. We all want to have a high quality experience of our time in this body. So that runs the gamut. But what does this have to do with investors? Well, if we can see that this understanding that people who are viewing this as a paradigm, the number of people who view it as a paradigm and are living inside of that paradigm and are satisfied, that's growing. So that gives us a predictive quality about the trend of the economy. And if you've got a predictive notion about the trend of the equality, that's a good thing to have as an investor. So to me, the direction toward a vegan-centric point of view about the world is inevitable. It's really a question of how fast we get there and how much suffering the globe is willing to endure to get to that point. But I think we're going there, and we'll get there. And the beautiful thing about it is it's a voluntary thing. People talk about, what can I do about climate change? Well, stop eating animals. And what can I do about, these health issues? Well, stop eating animals. Stop commodifying animals. What can we do to save the rainforests and other forests? The temperate forests in North America and Europe and Eurasia and South America. Like, what can we do? Stop engaging in animal agriculture. There was even, this isn't so vegan, but in the same video I watched people say, well, what about, if you say don't eat fish, what about all those people that are fishing for subsistence? And the response was that the industrial fishing is actually driving these uh, subsistence fisher people out of business and making them destitute. That doesn't really make me in favor. I think we need an economic solution for the whole of it. But obviously, if we're going for the 90-10 rule, 90% of the problem of the destruction of the oceans is being done by a relatively small number of corporate fishing enterprises. So getting involved in finance gives us an opportunity to get a grip on the scope of the problem and the scale and move at an appropriately speedy rate before it's too late. So I hope you like this little short video. If this is interesting to you, please come over to veganlaunch.com and sign up. It's the first vegan public investment crowdfunding platform. And we do much more than just provide vegan public investment offers. It's a whole integrated approach for building the vegan economy and a lot of different ways to participate in that effort. So again, thanks for listening, and I look forward to seeing you over at veganlaunch.com.